Hello. And welcome to our YouTube channel. This is where we brainstorm ideas that we use to create a fantasy world. Our goal is to build a world that no mind has ever imagined before. But that doesn't mean that we like every idea that we think of. So, today we are talking about how to deal with ideas. Especially new ideas that no one has ever thought of before. So, how do you know that an idea is really a good idea? Sometimes, we get a new idea and we think it is such a brilliant idea that, well, I have to say that, we fall in love. How many times have you heard someone promoting an idea that, well, let's just say the idea could have used some more thought. But, then, the person who thought up the idea is clearly in love with the idea. And, just like someone who has fallen in love, they see their idea in such a brilliant light. They don't see the problems, just the possibilities. Can you think of anyone with ideas like that? I'm sure you can. Anyway, in this video, we are thinking about how we treat new ideas and well, how we might do better. Please stay with us and see what you think. We really do like having you along.
Hello, and welcome. This is our newest world building video. So we are Wild Art Fly Free and we are building a fantasy world. We were sort of hoping that you might help us. We are building our world out of stories, and our stories are made from things like plots and scenes and locations and characters. It can be fun if you don't take it too seriously. Also, everything that we create is public domain, so anyone can use it. No worries. So, if you have half an hour, why don't you sit back and see what we are about? Also, please know that we are always interested in your ideas, so if you have any ideas to share, please feel free. Thank you. So Al, you said you had an idea about ideas. Again. Last time we met, we were talking about belief.
Yes. Owl. You were talking about kinds of people. You were talking about how a certain kind of person thinks and how they talk. Some people only talk about themselves, and they only think of themselves. So then, we were thinking about creating a character who would fight against using the words me and I. We haven't really got around to that character yet. Have we? Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for remembering the idea. I know that we have come up with lots and lots of ideas, so if that idea didn't go anywhere, well, maybe it wasn't that great of an idea.
I like the idea. Al. Really, we can get back to that character. Anyway. Wasn't there something about a big mouse? I think that I remember some pictures.
Well, turtle, that's good, but there really isn't any hurry. Especially when we have so many other ideas to work on. Well, That's what I was thinking we might talk about today. So then. Don't panic. I'm not going to suggest another project to take up our time. I just had an idea about, well, ideas. And, since we are always playing with ideas here, I thought we might want to talk about my ideas about ideas. And, well, would it help if I said that my idea about ideas is a very cute idea?
Oh yes. Owl.
Cute ideas always get my attention, but that doesn't mean that they are always the best ideas. But your ideas are always worth listening to, so please go ahead. What is your new cute idea?
Yes, Owl. Let's hear your idea and then we will see how cute it really is.
So well, thank you both. And well, it starts in cuteness as many ideas do. You know, we have new ideas and they are kind of awkward and clunky, but we like them for it. These are the little baby ideas. And we love them for their potential, don't we? When we start with a new idea, we often don't have any idea what it's going to grow into. Do we?
Okay then, Owl. This is a cute idea. You are talking about ideas. That is, new ideas, as if they were little babies. And, yes, that is cute, and also clever. That way, we have no choice but to take care of your new ideas. Do we? I mean, here is a cute little baby idea in its basket sitting on our doorstep. What are we going to do? We don't have any choice but to bring it inside and care for it. Do we? Yes, Owl. Very clever.
Yes, ha. And we have no choice. We have to bring our new foundling idea inside. Even though we are already drowning in well, I guess an orphanage of baby ideas that we are already neglecting. Is that it, Owl? Yes. Turtle. You are right. Our owl is just too clever.
Yes. And thank you for being so quick to bring in this new idea too. We really can't help ourselves. Can we? Here is another idea to put into the soup and we just do it.
Baby soup.
Ha! You caught that, did you? Funny. But you said drowning in an orphanage, so I thought that I might just add to it. Anyway. This idea that new ideas can be little hatchlings or even seedlings. Well, I just thought we could play with it a bit and see what it grows into. And, well, maybe, if it gets to be a big, grown-up, powerful idea, then maybe it can find a place along with our definitions for creativity or perfection. It sort of fits in, doesn't it?
So, you aren't really adding an idea to our world of Opsipedok, are you? This is an idea for wild art fly free, isn't it?
Well, Turtle, I guess it is. Well thought out.
So, Owl? How long does an idea? I mean, a little baby idea. How long does it take for a little baby idea to grow to be a big powerful idea? Do we need to sign up for daycare? Sometimes we get sort of busy around here.
So woo. Maybe. What do you guys think? How long should it take for a baby idea to grow up?
Okay, so. Can we talk about Tweedrill for a minute? We have a character that we are building. The small young lady named Easily has a mysterious past. She is a Tweedrill. Very few people on the world of Opsipudok have ever heard of Tweedrill. The first information about the Tweedrill that we should know is that the Tweedrill have a strong connection to dragons. Well then, few people on our world have heard of the Tweedrill, although maybe not by that name. Myths, legends, and even rumors have whispered about a group of people that have a special connection to dragons. The dragon community who keep Tweedrill are called the Vitgliv. In a library somewhere there is one Vitgliv symbol that shows dragons looking up to humans that are clearly at a level above the dragons. Okay, so. Sadly now I must kill some of the magic that is fed by the mystery in the story. The truth about the image of the dragons looking up to humanoids that are shown above them, is that the humans are child actors on a stage. The stage is shown above the dragon audience just because that's how theaters work. If you were ever to suggest to the dragons that they were somehow beneath humans, they would probably belch flames of laughter in your face. So then, young Easily, the mysterious halfling was a Tweedrill for most of her childhood. Tweedrill are humanoids who were kept by dragons when they were children. The Vitgliv love the Tweedrill like pets. The child people remind the dragons of their own children, but just a lot cuter. The Tweedrill are kept as a secret. You would have to ask a dragon to learn why. The dragons employ humanoid servants who protect and supervise the Tweedrill. These people are very serious about ensuring that the Tweedrill stays a secret. Many Vitgliv have sentimental attachments to their former Tweedrill, but if these humans start to cause problems, the dragons would just remind themselves that they are only human after all and a dragon's got to do what a dragon's got to do. Okay, so. Easily really needs to keep her past as a secret.
Hello again, Today I hope that we can make a random monster or two. I have some lists of features and stuff. We don't have to use the features if we don't want to, they are just some randomness to add to the chaos, but, in the end, we can make up anything that we want to. The randomness is just a way to feed our imagination. Okay. So, we want to think up a monster that no one has ever thought up before. Do you have any ideas about monsters? Then, sorry but that's not what we want, is it? Because it is something that we have thought of before. So, to think up something that none of us have thought up before, ever. We can start with a type of existing animal. We have a list of generic animals. Let's roll the dice and see what we can start from. Okay. We rolled an 11 and that's a crab. Okay. Now, let's pick out a fantasy creature from that list. An 18 gives us a Sasquatch. Okay then, how do we combine a Sasquatch and a crab? If we can't, again, we don't have to take the random suggestions, but it does make us think, doesn't it? Maybe a huge furry crab. Or could we have a Bigfoot with pincers? How do you feel when the features get really alien? Would a Sasquatch with those crab eyes on tentacles be too weird? Anyway, while we think about that stuff, let's move on. We have another list of traits. We can pick one trait. Rolling a 10 gives us scaly. This is starting to seem like a very alien creature. How might we tame it down to modern turtle sensibilities? Maybe this is mostly a crab, so strangeness will be expected. It can also live in or out of water, so it could fit into different stories easier. We could give the crab scales easily enough, but what do we do with the Sasquatchiness? Big feet? Can you be scaly and furry at the same time? Okay. Maybe the fur pokes out from around some really big scales. That's something that I have never thought of before. How about you? Let's carry on. We have another list with behaviors. We can pick out one or two of those, okay. A 13 gives us loving. So we might have a scaly, furry, loving crab. Well, at least it is original, I hope. Let's pick out another behavior. Another 13. We start counting at loving and we get nervous. And so does our crab monster. Loving and nervous? Really, who isn't, depending on who we are with, but, don't get me started. Okay. Then, we are starting to get a monster with some personality. Now, we can add something from our trait list. Rolling our d20 we get 17. That is rough. Well, let's roll again. A 16 gets us to pock-marked. That gives us a crab that is scaly, furry, rough, pock-marked, nervous and loving. Do you think that it might be sensitive about its looks? Or, is it just a normal representative of its species? Well, that is one monster that we can add at random to a story. We should give it a name though. Using the d6 we roll a 4 for the number of syllables. Now, we can just pick some text to roll for random syllables. Love, have, love. An interesting coincidence there with two loves. So it is something like love have love. Maybe. Love. Okay. That is just strange enough to finish with for now. Tell us what you think about our, love creature.
Owl introduced the idea of a new idea being like a baby. She was saying that we care for new ideas because they are cute and clunky. New ideas might be overly simple, but instinctively, we protect them and feed them because, well, we don't know what they might grow into. But we hope. Don't we? So, we followed that little baby idea. And it led us to think of ourselves as the workers in a nursery or a preschool. But, now maybe we should be thinking in terms of a farm? Maybe the new baby ideas start as seeds. Or maybe eggs. So then, if it's an idea farm, we won't be teaching the ideas so much as training them. And another idea that comes from the idea farm is idea breeding. That is an uncomfortable idea, isn't it? Well, it is uncomfortable for some of us. Anyway, on our idea farm we will put two ideas together for a while and then Well, sometimes you get another new baby idea. Is this where new ideas come from? How often do the little baby ideas come from grown-up parent ideas? And, well, we do have a lot of ideas to play with, don't we? So, maybe we should try some idea breeding now. First, we should decide on 2 ideas at random. Okay then. Now we need a set of random ideas from our fantasy world.
So Bunny wants us to put together a list of simple, little ideas. We were talking about an idea farm, so now, I guess that we are going to mix simple ideas to make more interesting ideas. Okay, then so, how about we think up some ideas about the characters or the places in our fantasy world of Opsipudok. Okay, let's start with our friend, Eex. He is the goblin who was raised by humans and is now on a quest to learn about goblins and about himself. For a while he was the teacher to a group of young goblin adolescents, until they got away from him. Then while he was chasing after his escaped goblin students, he partnered up with and started riding the cart horse named Lily. So, then, what sort of simple ideas can we say about Eex? Okay. Eex idea 1 is, Eex is turning into the classic hero type. We could now call him the Lone Goblin or Sir Goblin. Eex is defining himself by his interactions with others, and he really wants to be useful. Eex, idea 2 is, Eex has some insecurities from being a goblin raised by humans. His parents thought of him as a charity project and something that they could improve. Okay, Eex idea 3 is, number 3 is not a simple little idea, but let's leave it in anyway and move on. We are just experimenting here, so there is no wrong way to do things, is there? Now let's move on to another person. Or, maybe a group. Peet, Eex, and Eldon are a group. They came from a different continent. The wizard dwarf named Peet is the boss. Eex is a halfling woman and his apprentice, and the human young man, Eldon, is an alchemist. So Peet, Eex, and Eldon came to our continent of Aldla while working for the cult called the Halikan. The Halikan hire adventurers to help ensure that the cult's prophecies are fulfilled. So, we now have the challenge of bringing 2 ideas together to spawn some new ideas. And these won't be totally random ideas, we will get ideas from our fantasy world so far. Well, we have written a list of ideas that were inspired by our world stories. So, then our first idea is about our young man goblin, Eex. So Eex has some insecurities from being a goblin raised by humans. His parents thought of him as a charity project and something that they could improve. Okay then, we want another idea from our stories, but not about Eex. So, our second idea will be about the man-dwarf wizard named Peet. So, Peet, Eex, and Eldon are each very good at what they do, but they do not often succeed, possibly because Pete doesn't take on the easy jobs. Okay, now we want to put these two ideas together and see what new ideas come up. So, we have two humans who adopted a person from a visible minority. Pete is a dwarf. Would the humans think of him as a visible minority? Well, they would probably show more respect to the dwarf culture, but they think of goblins as victims who face extra challenges. So, then, how would Pete feel about Eex? Pete has a halfling and a human working for him. But, he doesn't measure a person based on race. So then, when Pete meets Eex, he would probably see Eex's nice coat and hat with a feather and think that this is a person who has had some success in life. And Eex has been traveling and the travel would show up in Eex's appearance. So, would Pete have respect for the independence, or would Pete be critical for someone who doesn't seem to have a job or a career? Pete, Yixi, and Eldon are career-oriented. So, what ideas might we come up with, when Pete meets Eex? Would Pete offer Eex a job? Actually, Pete wouldn't get to Swanford to meet Eex until Eex would already be working as a teacher. So then, Pete might assume that Eex is unemployed, based on Eex being a goblin. Also, at this point, we should note that Pete's own job will be to spread fear to scare the people out of Swanford. What would Pete say to Eex? What would Pete think would scare a goblin? And would it work on a goblin who was raised by humans? We do know that Eex takes the goblins out of Swanford, so whatever Pete said, it must have worked. So, we really do have a job to do ourselves. We have never really decided what Pete said or did that convinced the people of Swanford to leave town in fear. Yes, Pete did also use magic to induce fear, but he must have had some sort of story to scare away the people. So, let's come up with some ideas about what would scare a town full of people into leaving their homes. Monsters. Magic. Natural disaster. Evil villains. Magic monsters. A magic storm. Let's throw in some chaos. How about a random word drop? We get the words dad, beer, advice, grandmother, union, article, emphasis, guidance. Well, that sounds like a very wholesome list. Dad and grandmother advice? Well, just because dads and grandmothers don't want to hurt us, it doesn't mean they wouldn't want to scare us. And family advice from the people we respect and trust most, might be the way to scare people. Or maybe we should fear for the safety of these people who we care about? An emphasis on guidance. How about if our dads and grandmothers send messages to us saying that the town is in danger and we should leave? Could Pete arrange to have the citizens of Swanford that their families know of a disaster coming to the town? Okay then. We still need to decide on a plausible threat to scare the town. Okay then. That's our challenge and we need an answer, so send us your ideas and we will make a decision. What could threaten a town so badly that people can be convinced to leave their homes?